The invitation had been vague. Family dinner at the house. 6 p.m. Don't be late. Important. I'd assumed it was for my parents' 28th wedding anniversary, which was tomorrow. Maybe they wanted to celebrate early. I should have known better. I arrived at 6 exactly, parking my 9-year-old sedan in the driveway next to my sister's BMW and my brother's Audi. The house looked the same as always. Perfectly manicured lawn, expensive cars, the kind of suburban perfection that screamed success. Inside, everyone was already gathered in the living room. Mom, Dad, my sister Vanessa with her husband, my brother Christopher with his wife. All of them sitting in a semicircle facing one empty chair. My chair. Meredith, Mom said, gesturing to the seat. Sit down. We need to talk. I sat slowly, alarm bells going off in my head. Is everything okay? No, Dad said bluntly. Everything is not okay. That's why we're here. Vanessa leaned forward, her expression somewhere between concern and superiority. Meredith, we love you. But we're worried about you. Worried. I repeated. You're 30 years old, Christopher said. And you have nothing to show for it. I stared at him. What? Mom pulled out a notepad. An actual notepad with bullet points. We've been discussing this as a family and we've decided you need an intervention. Your father and I are celebrating our anniversary tomorrow, and we wanted to address this before the celebration. We can't keep pretending everything's fine. Pretending what's fine? I asked, my voice tight. Your life, Dad said. Meredith, you're a complete failure. There's no other way to say it. You have no career, no house, no spouse, no children. You're 30 and you're accomplishing nothing. The words hit like physical blows. I gripped the arms of the chair. You work from home doing, what exactly? Mom consulted her notes. Freelance graphic design? That's not a real career. That's a hobby. I'm not a graphic designer, I said quietly. I've told you. Whatever it is, it's clearly not working, Vanessa interrupted. You live in a tiny apartment. You drive that ancient car. You never go on vacation. You dress like you shop at discount stores. Meredith, you're barely surviving. Christopher nodded. We're not trying to be harsh. We're trying to help. You need structure. Direction. A real job with benefits and stability. I can get you an interview at my firm. Entry level, but it's a start. Entry level, I repeated, my voice hollow. It's better than what you have now, Christopher's wife added. Which is basically nothing. Dad leaned forward. Meredith, when you were younger we had such high hopes for you. You were smart, driven, full of potential. And then, you just stopped trying. You gave up on grad school. You turned down good job offers. You isolated yourself with this freelance work that clearly isn't paying the bills. How do you know it's not paying my bills? I asked. Because look at you, Mom said, gesturing at my outfit. Simple jeans, a plain sweater. You look like you're struggling. You live like you're struggling. You are struggling even if you won't admit it. I'm not. Denial isn't helpful, Vanessa cut in. We're staging this intervention because we care. Because watching you waste your life is painful for all of us. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing the family. Embarrassing the family, I echoed. Yes, Dad said firmly. Your brother is a corporate lawyer. Your sister runs her own marketing agency. Your mother and I built successful careers. And then there's you living in a studio apartment working on a computer all day doing, what? Making logos for small businesses. That's not what I do, I said again, louder this time. Then what do you do? Mom challenged. Explain it to us. Because we've asked before and you always give vague answers. Software development. Tech consulting. What does that even mean? It means. The doorbell rang. Everyone turned toward the sound. Who's that? Dad frowned. We're in the middle of something important. I'll get it, Vanessa said, standing up. Probably a delivery. She walked to the front door. I heard her talking to someone. Then she came back holding a large envelope and a package. It's for you, she said, handing them to me with a confused expression. From Forbes magazine. The courier said it's urgent. I took the envelope. My hands were shaking. Forbes. Mom looked confused. Why would Forbes be sending you something? I opened the envelope and pulled out an advance copy of the magazine. The cover was glossy, pristine. And there, in bold letters across the front, 30 under 30, the tech innovators changing the world. Below that, a smaller headline, How Meredith Hayes Built a $140 million Tech Empire in Silence. And my photo. Professional, polished, nothing like the casual picture Mom probably had of me in her head. The room went completely silent. What is that? Vanessa whispered. Mom grabbed the magazine from my hands before I could stop her. Her eyes scanned the cover, then went wide. This can't be. Dad stood up, taking the magazine from Mom. He stared at it, his face going pale. Meredith Hayes. That's you. On the cover of Forbes. Let me see, Christopher demanded, crossing the room. He looked at the magazine, then at me, then back at the magazine. This is a joke, right? Some kind of prank. I opened the package that had come with the magazine. Inside was a letter on Forbes letterhead. Dear Ms. Hayes. Congratulations on being selected for Forbes 30 under 30 list in the technology category. Your feature article will appear in our April issue, hitting newsstands next week. We're sending you this advance copy for your review. Our team was incredibly impressed by your journey building NeuralSync technologies from a solo venture into a major player in AI-driven communication platforms. Your story of creating a $140 million company while maintaining complete privacy is exactly the kind of innovation we love to highlight. Please find enclosed your invitation to the 30 under 30 Summit in Boston next month, where you'll be speaking on the main stage about building successful companies outside the traditional spotlight. I set the letter down on the coffee table. Someone want to explain what's happening? Dad's voice was strangled. I tried to explain, I said quietly. Multiple times. You never listened. Mom was flipping through the magazine frantically, finding my feature article. She started reading aloud, her voice getting higher with each word. Meredith Hayes, 30, is the founder and CEO of NeuralSync Technologies, a company she built from her apartment starting at age 24. Her AI-powered communication platform now serves over 12 million users worldwide and was recently valued at $140 million following a Series C funding round. That's not possible, Vanessa said, but her voice wavered. Mom kept reading. Hayes is known in the tech industry for her extreme privacy, rarely giving interviews and maintaining a deliberately low profile. While her competitors seek publicity, Hayes focused on building a superior product. Her approach has paid off. NeuralSync is now considered the leading platform for real-time language translation and communication accessibility. Christopher grabbed the magazine from Mom, reading another section. Despite her company's success, Hayes lives modestly, preferring to reinvest profits into research and development rather than personal luxuries. She drives a 9-year-old car, lives in a small apartment, and dresses simply, choices that reflect her philosophy that success isn't about appearance but impact. Dad looked at me like he'd never seen me before. You own a tech company worth $140 million? Yes, I said. Since when? I started it when I was 24. 6 years ago. Right after I turned down those good job offers you mentioned. I saw an opportunity in the market, wrote the initial code myself, and launched the first version from my apartment. Your tiny apartment, Vanessa said weakly. The one we thought you lived in because you were broke. I live there because it's practical. The rent is low, the location is central, and I don't need space to impress anyone. I need space to work. Mom was still holding the Forbes letter, reading it again like it might change. You have 12 million users? Yes. NeuralSync provides real-time translation and accessibility features for businesses and individuals. We're particularly strong in healthcare and education sectors. Hospitals use our platform to communicate with patients who speak different languages. Schools use it to support students with hearing or speech disabilities. And it's worth $140 million? Dad's voice cracked on the number. The company valuation was $140 million after our last funding round 6 months ago. My personal stake is about 62%, so roughly $87 million. Though valuations fluctuate. The silence was deafening. Christopher finally found his voice. Why didn't you tell us? I did tell you, I said, frustration finally breaking through. I told you I was doing software development. I told you I was working on communication technology. I invited you to our series of funding celebration 3 years ago. None of you came. I sent you the TechCrunch article about our Series B funding. No one responded. I tried to explain what neural sync does at Christmas dinner 2 years ago, and Dad interrupted to talk about Christopher's promotion. We didn't realize, Mom started. You didn't ask, I interrupted. You decided I was failing based on my apartment and my car and my clothes. You never once asked to see my work, visit my office, or understand what I was building. You just assumed. Vanessa's husband spoke up for the first time. Wait, NeuralSync Technologies. I know that company. We tried to hire them for a corporate project last year. The contract proposal was 6 figures. 7 figures probably, I corrected. Depending on the project scope. We don't take contracts under $500,000 anymore. We don't have the bandwidth. Dad sat down heavily. You're saying you've been running a multi-million-dollar tech company this entire time, and we thought you were barely scraping by? Yes. And you never corrected us? I tried. You wouldn't listen. Every time I mentioned my company, you'd change the subject or make dismissive comments about freelance work. After a while I stopped trying. I focused on building NeuralSync instead of convincing you it was real. Mom's hands were shaking as she set down the magazine. Meredith, I don't understand. If you're so successful, why live like you're poor? I finished. Because I'm not interested in looking rich. I'm interested in being effective. Every dollar I don't spend on luxury apartments and designer clothes is a dollar I can invest in my company, my team, or my research. I have 47 employees now. They all have excellent salaries, full benefits, and equity stakes. That's more important to me than impressing people with my car. Christopher was Googling frantically on his phone. Holy shit. She's telling the truth. Look. He turned his phone around, showing a Forbes article from 6 months ago. NeuralSync Technologies raises $40 million Series C, valuation reaches $140 million. Another article, Top 10 AI Communication Platforms, NeuralSync leads in innovation. Another, CEO Meredith Hayes on building tech with purpose. Vanessa grabbed the phone, scrolling through articles, her face getting paler with each one. There are dozens of articles. Industry awards. Conference speaking engagements. How did we miss all of this? You weren't looking, I said simply. You saw what you expected to see. A struggling 30-year-old sister who couldn't get her life together. You never looked deeper. Dad stood up, pacing. This intervention. We called you a failure. We said you were embarrassing the family. Yes, I said. You did. But you're on the cover of Forbes. You built a $140 million company. You employ 47 people. You're objectively more successful than any of us. Success isn't a competition, Dad. But yes, by the metrics you were using to judge me, career achievement, financial stability, impact, I've done well. I just did it quietly. Mom wiped her eyes. Actual tears. I'm so sorry. We were so wrong about you. You were wrong because you made assumptions. You valued appearance over substance. You measured success by visible markers. Fancy cars, big houses, expensive clothes. None of that interested me, so you concluded I must be failing. We should have listened, Christopher said quietly. When you tried to tell us about your work. We should have paid attention. Yes, I agreed. You should have. Vanessa looked at the Forbes magazine again, then at me. You're going to be speaking at the 30 Under 30 Summit. On the main stage. Yes. About building companies outside traditional spotlight. About how you don't need publicity to build something meaningful. About how substance matters more than appearance. That's basically a description of us getting it wrong, Vanessa said, her voice small. We judged you for not seeking spotlight. For not performing success the way we expected. You did, I confirmed. Dad sat back down, looking defeated. We owe you an enormous apology. All of us. We called this intervention to fix you, but there was nothing to fix. You were succeeding beyond any of our achievements, and we were too blind to see it. The intervention was my anniversary gift, apparently, I said, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. Finding out my family thinks I'm a complete failure. Happy anniversary. Mom flinched. We were trying to help. We genuinely thought. You thought you knew my life better than I did. You thought your assumptions were more accurate than my reality. That's the problem. I stood up. I need to go. I have a board meeting tomorrow morning, and I need to review the quarterly reports tonight. Meredith, please, Dad said. Don't leave like this. We need to talk more. We need to make this right. I'm not sure you can make this right, I said honestly. You spent tonight telling me I'm a failure with no career, no house, no future. You told me I'm embarrassing the family. And you only care now because Forbes validated my success. If that magazine hadn't arrived, you'd still think I was a disappointment. That's not true, Vanessa protested weakly. Isn't it? If I'd stood up right now and said, actually, I run a successful company, would you have believed me? Or would you have dismissed it like you've dismissed everything else I've tried to tell you? No one answered. That's what I thought, I said. I picked up the Forbes magazine and the letter. I'll send you copies of the magazine when it hits stands next week. You can read about my work since you never wanted to hear about it from me directly. Meredith, Mom started. I'm not angry, I interrupted. I'm just tired. I'm tired of trying to make you see me. I'm tired of being judged by metrics that don't matter. I'm tired of watching you value Christopher's corporate job and Vanessa's marketing agency while treating my company like a hobby. I'm just tired. I walked toward the door. Christopher called after me. We're proud of you. We're so proud. This is incredible. I turned back. Are you proud of me? Or are you proud of the Forbes cover? Because those are different things. One is about who I am. The other is about what I achieved that others validated. I needed you to be proud of who I am regardless of external validation. You weren't. I left before anyone could respond. Outside, I sat in my 9-year-old car, the one they judged as proof of failure, and pulled out my phone. 17 messages. 8 from my employees congratulating me on the Forbes feature. 3 from investors. 2 from journalists requesting interviews. 4 from industry colleagues. None of them had ever doubted me. None of them had needed a magazine cover to believe in my work. They'd seen it from the beginning. My family hadn't. And that was the difference. I drove back to my tiny apartment, 750 square feet that was paid off, mortgage-free, because I'd bought it in cash 3 years ago as an investment. I sat at my desk, surrounded by monitors showing NeuralSync's platform analytics, user growth charts, development pipelines. This was my real life. This was what I'd built while my family thought I was failing. 12 million users. 47 employees. $140 million valuation. 6 years of work. 6 years of being dismissed, doubted, and judged. And one Forbes magazine cover that changed everything. Except it shouldn't have taken a magazine cover. It should have taken them asking. Listening. Believing me. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Please let us make this right. We love you. We're so sorry. Another from Dad. I was wrong about everything. Can we talk? One from Vanessa. I read your whole Forbes article. Meredith, what you built is incredible. I'm ashamed we didn't see it. I turned off my phone. Maybe someday I'd forgive them. Maybe someday we'd rebuild our relationship. But tonight I had quarterly reports to review, a board meeting to prep for, and a 30 under 30 summit speech to write. Tonight I had the life I'd built without their approval to focus on. Because that was the thing about building something real. You didn't need anyone else to validate it. You just needed to keep building. Even when your own family thought you were failing. Especially then.